And here's why they can't respond. People in the United States have to understand one thing. The Chinese look at us as a tributary state to them, and let me explain that. China's been around for 4,000 years, right? They've had good runs and they've had bad runs, okay? But one thing they know, and the reason they're still organized as a nation over 4,000 years, right? They know how to handle allies and they know how to handle bad guys, okay? Now what they've done is they got this system called barbarian management, and they know how to manage barbarians. The way they manage the barbarians is they take the leaders of the barbarians and they give them a taste of the good life. And you're going to be something special. You're going to get a special deal. Now, what happens back into the tributary state is whatever happens. That's your problem. Right. Okay? So you're in the United States, what they have done for 25 and 30 years is played us as a barbarian state, barbarian management. Okay? They incentivize our elites, and our elites deindustrialize, particularly the upper Midwest of this country. It's the reason Donald Trump's president. Your audience should understand one thing that's important is that, you know, J.D. Vance, the great guy from Yale who wrote Hillbilly Elegies is the best sociological study of the Trump voter. And it was J.D. Vance who told me, he says, hey, those studies that come out of MIT and Harvard show that there's a direct correlation between the factories that left for China, the jobs that left with them, and the opioid crisis. Because this is not about tariffs. It's
actually logic.
It's not about tariffs. What this is about is human dignity and self-worth. Those factories went, Wall Street made the money, the corporations benefit from it for lower costs, and devil catch the hindmost on the workers. And so this is what Trump is kind of totally reversed. Now, what China sees us as is we're a tributary state. We send them natural resources, soybeans, beef, cattle, Boeing Airlines and Apple products. Oh, excuse me. We don't send Boeing Airlines and Apple products. You know why? Because they forced Boeing to do a joint venture and they forced Apple to make the products over there. So we're Jamestown to their Great Britain. Okay, and that's why the tariffs at the scale that Trump put them up at, they can't respond to. Okay?
But what's interesting is let's assume we put 25% on $520 billion. We're literally talking about a little over $100 billion.
Yes.
And I know that's a lot of money.
Yes.
But our economy is $19 trillion.
Yes.
It's still not that functionally meaningful to us, in my opinion.
Yes.
But I do think it's a leveling of a field, to your point.
It's converging.
They've been fighting a trade war with us since 2001, and we just haven't fought back.
Okay. The average compounded growth of the United States of America from 1946, the end of World War II, to 2000 was 3.5%. Okay? It's the reason we became a superpower. That economic engine that was unlocked and grew every year at 3.5% through good times and bad, on average.
Yep.
Since China joined the World Trade Organization, when they joined, they got most favored nation, the growth of the United States is 1.9%. Okay, 1.9%. And there's a lot of factors to that, but the central beating heart of it is China. That's what, because we deindustrialized. We sent our manufacturing over there. Yes, the tariffs in and of themselves on a nominal number, an absolute number, are not huge. But when we look at the convergence of everything, what Trump has done is said, hey, we're at economic war. And we're going to hit back with it. We're going to hit back with the 301s to stop the forced technology transfers. We're going to put these tariffs into the scale they've never seen before. We're going to have the ability, if we so desire, to liquidate companies like ZTE, to basically cut them off from their component parts in the West. They'll be out of business in 90 days. Also, the new things about investments, about these limitation in investments.
CFIUS reform.
The CFIUS reform that people are talking about. You bring all forces of government together on that and the stopping of intellectual property, you have something. What Trump has done, and this is why NAFTA was so important. You know, people mocked and ridiculed Trump. There's a book out called Fear that Gary Cohn, the president of Goldman Sachs, great Goldman Sachs, and I used to work there, he takes the documents off the president's desk. The book opens where he's taken the NAFTA deal, right, early on in the deal on Korea, he actually takes them off the desk because in his judgment, right, the president wasn't smart enough to understand what he was doing. Well, here's what Trump's done. The new NAFTA deal that he's created is basically setting up a geostrategic manufacturing base to counter East Asia, okay? And Japan is very quickly going to be part of that. A bilateral deal, not some TPP deal where we're just one among many. A direct bilateral deal with Japan as a partner. We've got one with Korea we're updating. And then the EU, Juncker has already told Trump, has already indicated that they're going to be a part of this too. What Donald Trump has done in less than 2 years against the second law of thermodynamics, right? The immutable law of the rise of China.
Right.
What he's done is reorient the entire world's supply chain away from China. And this is going to have economic growth opportunities that are going to be incredible. And he's done that kind of single-handedly against the fighting of the corporatist lobby, the fighting of the Wall Street Investor Relations Department, et cetera. So that's why I think it's really heroic.
It's that policy is one that it's interesting at the timing. If you look at just let's say the economic laws of China were already slowing down before we decided to fight back. It just so happens to be that this pushback from a tariff, or whether the most elegant idea was the border adjustable tax, which was immediately killed by you and I both know who.
I love that one.
That was perfect, in my opinion.
But now, by the way, your audience, I am a huge believer that, and Paul Ryan and I've had our differences. When he first walked me through that, I said, that's the solution.
Exactly right.
That's the solution.
It's kind of an egalitarian way of going at it.
I think, and we all know why it got crushed.
Yeah.
I think that is something that should be brought back up in very quickly in future years.
We could do away with tariffs if we imposed a border adjustable tax.
Well, by the way, let's talk about tariffs for a second. President Trump, remember at the G7, when he was lectured by his betters, Merkel and Macron, on the first day, about this whole thing about tariffs, right? He came back the next day for breakfast, and what Trump told the G7, he said, okay, I thought about it last night. How about this? No tariffs. Absolutely no tariffs, but no subsidies.
Yeah.
People have to realize, like, the White House put out this document, I think it's over 2 months ago now, the 50 things that China is doing in its economic war with us. It's kind of what the United States wants China to stop. That's the deal. You stop that, we're all good. When you look at that, it's not just the tariffs. It's the investment in state-owned industries. Yeah. Remember, they have
free land, free electricity,
free land. What they've done. Look at what they've done in steel and aluminum throughout the world. Look what they've done with shipbuilding. You can go every heavy industry. They've gutted. They've gutted the Western Europe, and they've gutted the United States, and they continue to do that purposely. And they're also, by the way, ZTE showed you this. They have to create, I think it's some number of 11 million jobs a year. They're under enormous internal economic pressure to create those jobs. They can't afford to have 150,000 high value added jobs at ZTE just go away. Same thing with the steel. They're kind of caught on the wheel now. I mean, they're the first to admit they have to keep adding capacity, right? Because they got to keep these guys working. So I think that that's why the Chinese model and all this happy talk that comes from the West about the Chinese model, when you really look at it, I know you are one of the world's handful of experts that I think it looks at the numbers as they really are and not what people hope they are and not how they're spun by China.